Alright, so as you guys probably know, the new HEALS Act, the Health, Economic Assistance, Liability Protection, and Schools Act is out, and it does include a $1,200 second stimulus check. So in today's second stimulus check update, I'm going to be going over everything you need to know about the HEALS Act, and I'm going to be answering the most important questions that you guys want to know. So stay tuned. This will include second stimulus check details, unemployment benefit boost details, PPP, and when this HEALS Act is expected to be passed and when you will be expected to get your second stimulus checks. Now, just a quick disclaimer about this HEALS Act. It has not been passed yet, and it is just a proposal. So be sure when you're reading all of these stories about the new stimulus check, new stimulus package, and HEALS Act, that it is just a proposal as of today. And if this video ends up helping you out, be sure to like it and consider subscribing with those alert bells on so you don't miss any future videos. Alright, so first and the most important question. Will there be a second stimulus check? And the answer to that is yes. There's a 99.9% chance going to be a $1,200 second stimulus check in the passed HEALS Act whenever the act does actually get passed. Now, as I said, this would be a $1,200 stimulus check for single filers, $2,400 stimulus check for joint filers, and those income limits are $75,000 for singles and $150,000 for joint filers. And as far as dependents go, there will be $500 per dependent, and it won't only be child dependent, so it will include those adult dependents, whether it be elderly parents you care for or those college students. $500 each per dependent is what we are hearing. Now, what happens if your income is above that $75,000 or $150,000 income limit? Well, just like the CARES Act, there will be kind of a phasing out approach. So for every amount over those limits you make, your stimulus check will actually be reduced by 5% of that difference. Now, just as a side note, I think they're making all of these eligibility requirements the same as the first CARES Act, the first stimulus checks, just because it'll make it a lot more streamlined to get these stimulus checks out to you all, because they don't want any delays, as it has been a few months since these stimulus checks were first sent out. So they want to make sure once they start sending these new stimulus checks under the HEALS Act out, that they get to all of us very, very quickly. All right, another critical question is, will that $600 a week unemployment benefit boost still be a thing under the HEALS Act, as we know it's set to expire July 31st? Well, in this proposed package, Republicans actually put in an unemployment boost, but they reduced it from $600 all the way down to $200 a week. So effectively per month, that would be a $800 boost in unemployment benefits. Now, that would only be for the first 2 months of this package being passed into law. Then after those 2 months, they're actually saying they would enact a more complicated program that would pay workers 70% of the income they collected before they lost their job. Now, while in theory that seems like a good idea to provide a percentage of what your income was before you lost your job, this will be very, very hard to actually enact within the states, because states do control unemployment benefits, and they're going to need all the information to make those decisions about how much to send somebody. So they have to get all that person's income information, then they have to go in their systems and decide how they're actually going to pay the person and make sure they get the right amount. And as we all know, stimulus checks and unemployment benefits going out, they've had their issues. There have been checks sent to wrong people, wrong amounts, even dead people. So I don't know if that's going to actually make it into the final bill that will be passed, but it is worth noting. All right, and this question is for all of you small business owners out there. Will the PPP be extended in this new HEALS Act? So yes, under the HEALS Act proposal, there will be PPP extensions. So small businesses will actually be able to take out a second PPP loan. All right, and this one's a pretty funny one. Will this new HEALS Act, new stimulus package, include a payroll tax cut? We know that President Trump and other Republicans really wanted a tax cut in here, but it has not made it into this initial HEALS Act. Now, Republicans are saying that this HEALS Act, this new stimulus package, is kind of a stopgap, so they will plan on doing a payroll tax cut, but just later down the line. All right, for all of you students out there, will there be student loan forgiveness in this new stimulus proposal? The answer to that is no. Democrats wanted it. Republicans said no, that's going to be too much money. Democrats didn't really fight on it too hard, so it did not make it into this HEALS Act. All right, next up, will there be a return to work bonus in this HEALS Act, as Republicans have been stating they wanted? They want to make sure people are getting back into work. And right now, no, there's not a back to work bonus in this HEALS Act. Ultimately, I think it'll be cut out. I don't really think we'll hear much about this in the future just because it'll cost so much money and not everyone's on board with it. So a return to work bonus is probably out of the question. So I'm sure you're wondering, besides this stimulus check, unemployment benefits, and everything I've mentioned so far, what else is going to be in the HEALS Act? And will any of that money go to states and cities in this new stimulus package? Now, while this HEALS Act doesn't give any new money to state or local governments, it actually does allow state and local governments to use CARES Act money still available in a more flexible way. There is also going to be liability protection in this new HEALS Act. So that includes businesses, hospitals, schools, and this will be 4 or 5 years of liability protection for those entities. So here's another good one. The CARES Act actually provided a moratorium on evictions for renters living in homes with federally backed mortgages, but that actually expired on July 25th. This new HEALS Act did say they would propose extending that moratorium, but there weren't many details on it. But I do believe that this will be in the final HEALS Act whenever that may be passed, so expect that to be in there. All right, this one's an important one. Will there be funds in this stimulus package in the HEALS Act for testing for the virus? And that answer is yes. There will be $16 billion of new funding for testing, along with the $9 billion that was previously in the CARES Act. What about schools? Will schools, public universities be accepting money from this HEALS Act? The answer is yes. There will be $100 billion going towards schools, with $70 billion of that going towards K through 12 grade schools, and then the $30 billion going to colleges and universities. Okay, the final and most important question: when will this stimulus package be passed into law? So obviously there will be negotiations going on this week and next week, but there's a date we all need to know, and that's August 7th. That is the last day Congress is in session before the August recess. So unless something drastic happens and they really can't get into an agreement, August 7th is the very last day they can pass it before all the way in September when Congress comes back from August recess. Let's just assume they pass it by August 7th. We can probably assume that the second stimulus checks will take 2 to 3 weeks for the first wave to be sent out, so expect a late August date for those stimulus checks. All right, that is all the critical info you need to know about the new stimulus package, the proposed HEALS Act. If you guys gained value from this video, be sure to give it a like and consider subscribing with those alert bells on so you don't miss any future videos. Let me know what you thought down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.